Still might have that too.
I don't waste breath on an enemy. No room for negative energy. Nah. I hear them talking, don't get to me. Karma gon' catch up eventually.
Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Nah. I hear them talking, don't get to me. Karma gon' catch up eventually.
All right, everybody. Here we are. Take two. Had some technical difficulties. Had a good show going, I thought. Talked about some fun topics, but we're back. We're going to do it again. So for you guys, hopefully we bring the same level of excitement and energy. And it was tough to muster. So it's going to be even tougher a second time because that game was piss-po. That was a bad performance by the Vikings. It was a good performance by the Colts. I picked us to win on the show this week, and gladly, I didn't bet against them today, but talked my brother out of betting on the Vikings today. So glad I got to save him some money. Jack, let me plug the Twitter really quick. Follow us on Twitter at LTB Vikings and follow along for this crapshoot of a season. And Jack, we'll jump straight into it now. What do you think of the game today, man? What are your takeaways from this bad performance?
Yeah, I do know from the first take the exact word that I used, and it carries over very well because this is one of the ugliest Vikings games that I can remember, at least in the Mike Zimmer era. You can go back to that Colts game that we played a few years back where it was just an absolute mess, where I think we got a penalty where Linval, for some reason, was trying to jump over the center. You have the biggest guy on the team trying to jump over the center. Just like really weird game, and today was very similar. It was ugly on all three phases of the football. Kirk Cousins did not look good by any means. Defense didn't look great. I think the defense looked better than it did against Green Bay, but I would expect the defense to look a little bit better against Phillip Rivers versus Aaron Rodgers. Trying to get back into the box score here. I said this in the first take, and one thing I wanted to say here, Kirk Cousins' rating of 15.9 is absolutely atrocious, considering if a quarterback were to drop back and spike the ball every single time, their rating would be a 39.6. So, yes, that was absolutely terrible, and I have gotten into this a lot on Twitter. I just wrote my game breakdown as well, my game recap, and this got brought up in that as well. This Vikings team does not look good, and they have a back-to-back-to-back playoff team from 2019 stretch coming up here, and the Tennessee Titans, the Houston Texans, and then they go to, their favorite place to play, Seattle, to take on the Seattle Seahawks in a primetime game, if you will. So it could get a lot uglier before things start to get better. There wasn't a whole lot of things to be optimistic for in this game. There was just not a lot of positives, obviously, and I think that the fair majority of Vikings Twitter has already switched over to tank for Trevor. If you want to tank for Trevor, tank for Justin Fields, either one. Like I said, I'm a huge advocate for Kirk Cousins, but it's hard. We see what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith. I think you can really compare Alex Smith and Kirk Cousins. They're both very good, durable quarterbacks. Obviously, Alex Smith got hurt, but they're both, when they were healthy, very solid, still top 15, borderline top 10 quarterbacks. But the Chiefs went out and they drafted Patrick Mahomes, and I think if you wouldn't say that it turned out successfully, I don't know if you've even watched football in the last 2 years or not, but it worked out rather well for them, and I think if the Vikings end up getting a chance going 1-15, 0-16, granted, I don't think that will happen, but if it does, the Vikings will land themselves in a top 3 pick, and you can't pass on generational talents at the quarterback positions. It's been so tough of a position for this franchise since Fran Tarkenton. They've just been, my entire lifetime, it's been bouncing around from quarterback to quarterback. You had Dante Culpepper, who was the closest thing to a franchise quarterback probably in our lifetime, other than Kirk Cousins, and you get the Brett Favre stuff and everything that happened after that. Teddy Bridgewater goes down with an injury with a lot of buzz going into that season. It's been a very rough stretch at the quarterback position, and I think Kirk Cousins has come in and fixed that. But at the same time, I don't know if Kirk Cousins is that player that's going to take this team to that next level, just carrying the team with his arm. And I think the upside with a guy like Trevor Lawrence or a guy like Justin Fields, it's there. And like I said in the first take, if the Vikings do go 1-15 and they have the first, second, third overall pick and they pass on one of these guys, I think this fan base is going to go absolutely berserk.
Yeah, the comparison to Alex Smith is just too spot on. I mean, it is nail on the head. Good, won a playoff game, but if the defense looks bad, going to be a loss. If the offensive line plays bad, going to be a loss. If the wide receivers don't come down with every ball that you throw, it's going to be bad. He can't seem to make up that difference, and it's a tough thing to do, don't get me wrong. Phillip Rivers is not a guy who can I don't think can make up the difference if the rest of the team is playing very bad. Matt Stafford's not a guy like that. Like the most quarterbacks but then you look at the guys like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Like there's a lot of guys. Tom Brady is a little bit more questionable as he's older, but I mean he's like 55 now. So I mean what do you want from the guy? But I mean, I watched Patrick Mahomes' defense look awful today. I watched, him get smacked around like a rag doll by Joey Bosa and, is it Nick Bosa? By one of the Bosas and Melvin Golden. And they're in overtime right now trying to win me like $50. So, like, I mean, it just, if it's there, it's there. I don't know if I'm ready to declare that this team is going to be 1-15 or 2-14, but looking at the schedule, could see it happen. The Jags look like a tough team. They're one that it's like, oh yeah, that'll be a win. The Jags played Tennessee very tough. They beat the Colts last week. There's just a lot of games on this schedule that all of a sudden look a lot different. And I will give credit here really quick to my father, who had a really good point the other night when we were talking about how how young the secondary is, and he brought up that expect for the secondary to take leaps around week 5. Because they didn't get a preseason, so this is their first time going up against NFL caliber guys. They didn't get to, have a couple practices. I mean, they've been going up against Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and B.C. Johnson all offseason. And after a while, I mean, playing the same guys day in, day out, you kind of start to learn their tricks. It kind of gets a little old. So I'd like to see a jump in them in week 5. I'm not ready to abandon the ship, but I said in the last take, and I want to say it again in this take, find something else to do besides Vikings football. Watch, a team that you like in the AFC. Start playing fantasy football. Start going and putting some money down on a couple games in a safe and legal way. Find something that will make the football season a little bit more enjoyable, because I don't think this Vikings team is going to be enjoyable. I like Jack. Wanted to shout you out for this text as well whenever you said no more optimistic Jack. And I brought it up in the last one, and I wanted to bring it up in this one because, like, it's so true. Last week after, it's just one game. The Vikings look bad in one game a year. Mike Zimmer's team always no-shows a game or two every season. It seems like there's a lot of heat on him, and this is something that I did want to bring up in this post-game show. Which, by the way, if you want my full thoughts on the game, the defense looked awful. The offense didn't get a chance to have the ball, and when they did, they blew their chances. So there's my quick summary. But we were talking earlier about Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, and then I threw out while we were talking. I know you brought up Dabo Swinney potentially coming to coach the Vikings, but if the Vikings are a 1-15 team, if the Vikings win less than like 5 games. How do you keep Mike Zimmer as the head coach of this team with how bad they look? And I even said last week, he just signed an extension. They knew it was going to be a down year, but a down year should be like 7-9 when you're like a defensive guru. You shouldn't be getting shred to pieces every week and, look like a 2-3 win football team. So it's going to be a long year. I hope we hire Eric Bieniemy as our head coach personally. I like him. I think he should have a job now somewhere. I don't know how he doesn't. But let's go ahead. Let's get Eric Bieniemy. Let's get Trevor Lawrence. Let's get another wide receiver in like the second round. Let's just be the freaking Chiefs and let's win a Super Bowl. All right? There's a light at the end of this tunnel. And he's got long, luscious hair, and he plays at Clemson. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for tank for Trevor.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a second-round pick this coming year because of the Yannick Ngakoue edition, which he did have a sack today, one bright spot. But that defensive line, man, it's without having Michael Pierce. I think we talked about this in last week's show. I've talked with several buddies about this. Jonathan Taylor was one of the best running backs coming out of this class, and you always see rookie running backs come onto the scene early on, and just he has a chance now with Marlon Mack getting hurt. and he is very good. He was a freak at Wisconsin. He was an absolute beast carrying the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And behind that offensive line, they are a special unit. I mean, they made us look silly. Granted, we don't have Michael Pierce. You don't have a guy like Linval. You have Jaleel Johnson. Excuse me. Jaleel Johnson and Shamar Stephen in there, who obviously haven't played very great football. The defensive line is getting pushed back, and you get a running back that talented, they're going to run all over us. That's going to happen all season long, and it's only going to make things harder for our secondary, because if you can get that play action established, it's going to get uglier before it gets better, in my opinion. I said that earlier. It was a very ugly game today. And, I mean, I want to say let's move on and get to the Tennessee game. But, I mean, how are we going to stop a guy like Derrick Henry with no push? You can't.
Here's the answer to that. We won't.
Yeah.
I don't know what the over-under is. I don't know what the line on that game is going to be. I'm assuming it's in Minnesota, and I'm assuming it's going to be a 6.5-point spread. And I'm assuming Derrick Henry is going to go for over 175. I mean, I don't know why. And Tannehill looked really good today. He threw 4 touchdown passes in a win over Jacksonville. They're going to run the ball at will. I mean, they're going to be able to just hand it to Derrick Henry, and he's going to go for 15 yards every play. The offense isn't going to see the ball. It just seems like this is going to be the blueprint for the rest of the season. And I really hope we look back on this in, 2 months and we're like, wow, we were too early to jump off the ship. Obviously, me and Jack are both going to love this team. I've got a Vikings blanket behind me. We do a Vikings podcast. We're obviously going to watch this team the rest of the year, and we're going to talk about them, and we're going to have fun doing it. But a little bit of a downer tonight. And I look forward to talking some Trevor Lawrence on Wednesday, because it seems like we're going to be picking high, and I really hope we don't go offensive line with the high pick. I really hope we get someone that will excite the fan base and get us hyped up. But a lot of money on this team. A lot of cap space is being eaten up by guys like Anthony Bow, Kirk Cousins. I'm trying to think of all the other people that are,
I think Harrison Smith is up there.
Yeah, Harrison Smith is up there. Anthony Harris might not even be on the team next year because, he's playing on the franchise tag. But there's a lot of big money guys on this team, and it seems like I said this a couple years ago when we went like 8-7-1. I would rather be 3-13 or 2-12 or 2-14 than go 8-8 and miss the playoffs, because I would rather be at the very bottom picking up a really talented college football player than have to take a chance with like the middle rounds of the college football spectrum, where you see a lot more guys miss there. So I'm so excited to talk about the draft this season. It's difficult to find the light at the end of the tunnel, but we'll do game balls really quick, and then we'll get out of your hair. Jack, I know you said earlier who you gave your game balls to. I'll go ahead and let you reiterate on that, and then I'll go into mine, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, and just wrapping things up, I said this earlier, and I wanted to say this again because I think we've witnessed one of the most rare – it's not an accomplishment by any means, but having a safety in back-to-back games, I don't remember the last time I've seen that happen. I'm sure it has happened before, but, man, just field position, time of possession, nothing's going in the Vikings' favor right now, and they're on top of that, they're shooting themselves in the foot. So it's not easy to give out game balls for this week, but what I said earlier and what I'm going to continue to reiterate, the things that we can be optimistic about, even though optimistic Jack is gone and out of the picture now, but
he's dead. Mike Zimmer killed him.
The things that I said, Jeff Gladney, he had a penalty for being a little bit too physical, a little aggressive early on in the game, which I said last week. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to see penalty flags thrown. But our corners after last week, we needed to bring some of that physicality, and seeing Jeff Gladney get his chance, he had some good coverage snaps as well. He wasn't great. He wasn't perfect by any means, but I think he played 9 snaps against Aaron Rodgers last week. So this was his first game, like actually getting some legitimate playing time, and he went out, and I would say I need to watch the game back and get on all 22 and actually watch the game back. But from what I saw today, I kind of tried to focus on him. He looked okay at times, and you can't expect too much out of a rookie cornerback. So that's one bright spot. He's going to get my game ball on the defense. And then switching over to the offensive side of the ball, same thing, sticking with the other first-round draft pick for the Vikings this year. I think Justin Jefferson showed some signs of being in a good football at the next level. But at the same time, the offense just, I can get his stat line pulled up here. I have ESPN, the box score pulled up. He finished with 3 catches for 44 yards, which led the Vikings in yards. But at the same time, we're just not spreading the ball around our playmakers. Dalvin Cook doesn't seem to be getting the ball enough. Did you freeze again?
Jack, are you still there?
All right, yeah, we are battling with technology once again. Jack and Jordan I don't know if we probably have a similar record with technology that the Vikings currently have with playing football. But, yeah, just to reiterate what I was saying about game balls, I don't think there was a lot of room for optimism, and I said optimistic Jack is gone. But Jeff Gladney, he played physical. He had a penalty thrown. I think I said this earlier last week in last week's show that we need that. We've had that. Against Aaron Rodgers, we were playing such off coverage and playing so soft that it was fun seeing a guy like Gladney kind of get in there and play physically. He had some good coverage snaps, so it was fun seeing that. He had some. I need to go back and watch the All-22 and kind of actually watch him. But from what I saw today, it's a step in the right direction. And then switching over to the offensive side of the ball, sticking with the other first-round pick for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson led the team in receiving today, but still, the ball, this is where I think I remember where I left off. The ball was not getting spread around enough, in my opinion. Dalvin Cook didn't have his hands on the ball enough. I think Justin Jefferson, Irv Smith Jr., you have Kyle Rudolph. Adam Thielen is a very good wide receiver, but we need to take a little bit of the pressure off of him. We have guys like Justin Jefferson, who in my opinion played well enough today to show that he should indeed be the wide receiver 2. BC Johnson had some mishaps, and I'm really excited for the future for both Jeff Gladney and Justin Jefferson. Although there wasn't a lot to be optimistic about in today's game, I think those are the two that deserve, if anyone deserves, a game ball.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Gladney, I would also give some props to Harrison Smith, although he did get beat by T.Y. Hilton, and luckily he dropped it. But Harrison Smith did have a couple deflections, one of which went straight into Eric Wilson's hands for an interception. And on the offensive side of the ball, not a lot of positivity to be had. Just not. There's not. And, oh, God, it's so frustrating. I will take this moment really quick. My fiance was upset with me. I've been doing this side project on Friday nights where we talk about just all football instead of just the Vikings, and it's very laid back. We drink a lot, and my fiance got mad at me because I didn't shout her out. So I have to shout her out. First time on video. She got me maybe my favorite present ever. I have a pop socket on the back of my phone for watching Viking stuff at work. I can set it up, and she got me this little gem in the mail. Which is, of course, the Load the Box logo. So super excited about that. So that's my big bright spot this week is my new pop socket, along with Harrison Smith, and maybe getting Trevor Lawrence. If we get a new quarterback, I think me and Jack will both be very excited because that's going to make for some great damn content. And
I just want to say this. I've written an article very similar to this in the past. I've said this on the show in the past. Just because you think the Vikings should draft a quarterback if they're in that situation, it does not mean you are disrespecting Kirk Cousins. We've seen it over and over again. You saw with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That turned out well. Jimmy Garoppolo got drafted in New England and took his team in San Fran to the Super Bowl last year. So we've seen this work. You can't settle for, even if a quarterback is good, you can't settle if you have that option to go target someone with a much, much higher ceiling.
Yeah, Kansas City was a playoff team when they drafted Pat Mahomes, and they decided to draft Pat Mahomes. I think they made the playoffs the year after that with Alex Smith as well, and then they cut ties, and they said it's Mahomes' team now. And Mahomes came in Week 17 and got some play time and looked amazing, and it's history now. I mean, he's he's going to go down as an all-time great, and he's only 3 years in, so – if Trevor Lawrence is there, I think you get him. If Justin Fields is there, I think you snag him. And I'm excited because I know I've made a big hubbub about Kirk Cousins being my guy, but, I don't know. There's something about that feeling of just pure, unadulterated hope that a young quarterback gives.
It's being a Vikings fan.
It's 100%.
That's the definition of being a Vikings fan.
I live in quarterback hell. I live in Ohio, so the Bengals have been trying to figure it out for a while. They were in a similar situation. Andy Dalton, do we keep him? Do we move on? Do we keep him? Do we move on? I think we're going to very quickly see a lot of Vikings fans turn their backs on Kirk Cousins, and I think if this season doesn't do a quick 180, we're in for a rough time, and so is Cousins. Cousins is going to be getting a lot of hate mail, and don't do that. He's going to make a great Monday Night Football broadcaster, but not the most mobile guy in a league where you got to be mobile. So I think we hit all the bases. Tune in Thursday when the podcast goes up. We'll be breaking down the Vikings-Titans game, talking about fantasy, gambling, breakdowns, everything. It'll be a fun show. Hopefully you tune in next week for a post-game show where we can be a little bit more optimistic. But, hey, I might be in a Clemson jersey next week, Jack. I'm not kidding, man. Like, next week might make me go all the way in. If it goes the way that I'm going to go ahead and spoil it, I think it's going to go. So I've been Jordan Hawthorne. Follow me on Twitter at jhawthorne16. That's at jhawthorne with no E, 16. And then that has been Jack Day. Jack, you've been wonderful as always. Follow him on Twitter at Jack_H_Day. One more time, that is at Jack_H, as in how are the Vikings this bad, _day. He posts a lot of bomb as crap articles. I almost just started cussing right there, but he posts a lot of really great articles, game breakdowns, player reviews. I mean, you're on your stuff over there, man, and I appreciate being able to get this in tonight. I know it was a little difficult for both of us with us being in our feels a little bit, but hey, there's always next week. So like I said, follow us on Twitter at LTB Vikings. Tune in on Thursday morning for the podcast. Jack, any closing words?
I don't have any closing words. I'm not going to come in and try and give some big spiel because there's not enough there for me to give that spiel, quite honestly. So still love this team. Still going to watch it like you said. We're still going to be doing this every week, and it just might be an even more fun draft season for us next year.
Hey, and also, honestly, pumping out the content with a bad team, I think we'll get to be a little bit more creative other than, like, Dalvin Cook's show looked swell today. And, like, oh, wow, we have a good secondary. Like, this year we get to be like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of excited about getting to be an old man and yell about my team.
It sucks, but like I said earlier, going back and watching the All-22 and kind of nitpicking what goes right, what's going wrong, it's going to be fun to critique a little bit more, and then once we get into draft season, obviously we produce a lot of content as well, but no big spiel for the Vikings. Still going to watch, still going to be doing this show, and most importantly, still going to be saying this at the end of every show, Skol as always.
I don't waste breath on an enemy, no room for negative energy, nah. I hear them talking, don't get to me, karma gon' catch up eventually.